All right, so let's dive into fashion design.
Ooh, fun.
Specifically, like when you're working on a sewing project
Mhm.
and things just aren't
Yeah.
looking quite right.
Yeah.
The fit's off or the drape is weird, and you're kind of like, what am I even doing?
It happens to all of us.
Yeah,
Yeah, and sometimes like the problem isn't even your sewing.
right.
It's the actual pattern.
Exactly.
Like there can be these hidden design flaws that can just totally
Yeah.
sabotage your garment.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking at today. We're calling them the Big Five Deficits,
Okay.
and this is based on the work of a fashion design instructor named Ellie.
Okay.
She's done all this research into like amateur sewing tutorials,
Interesting.
and she's found these like 5 recurring mistakes
Yeah.
that can really make or break
Wow.
your clothes.
And these are mistakes that are in the instructions.
Yeah, and the instructions and the patterns themselves sometimes.
Got it.
And they're things that like
Maybe we don't even realize.
yeah, you don't even realize like, why is this looking so weird?
Aha.
So let's go through these one by one.
Sounds good.
The first one is called optimal balance,
Okay.
which sounds kind of basic, right? Like balance.
Yeah.
But Ellie really emphasizes this as like the foundation
Oh, interesting.
of a well-fitting garment.
Oh.
It's not just about like visually looking balanced.
Yeah.
It's about understanding how the fabric
Yeah.
hangs on the body, how it drapes and moves, and how to distribute
Interesting.
the fullness to create like a flattering silhouette.
So it's more than just like eye-pleasing balance. It's
Yeah.
like how the garment actually
Yes,
fits
it's
out.
like you're sculpting the fabric to the body rather
Yeah.
than just draping it over.
I like that.
And that's where a lot of amateur tutorials, I think, fall short,
Okay.
because they jump into the specifics of like how
Okay.
to sew this seam
Yeah.
without addressing this like fundamental concept,
Yeah. That makes sense.
which I think explains why a lot of us end up with garments
Right.
that just don't hang right.
No matter how carefully we sew them.
Exactly.
Ellie talks a lot about optimal balance in her videos.
Okay, cool.
And her podcast, which we'll link in the show notes.
Awesome.
The next one is armhole depth.
Okay.
And you'd think it's simple, right? You just make the armhole
Yeah, just make it bigger.
bigger, but there's more to it than that.
Yeah, I've definitely learned that the hard way.
Yeah, I have too. Just deepening the armhole without widening it
Right.
can create this like weird, almost pinched look
Oh, yeah.
under the arm.
Totally.
And it ends up looking like a number 0, which is not really the look we're going for.
Not flattering.
The key is to widen the armhole, A and D, deepen it,
Okay.
and then adjust the sleeve to match.
Oh, so you have to adjust the sleeve too?
Yes.
Okay.
And I've definitely messed up sleeves before
Yeah, I
by
see.
just like trying to wing it.
Totally.
And this is where it gets interesting, is if you only deepen or widen the armhole,
Okay.
you're going to run into problems
Interesting.
because the garment won't hang right.
Okay. And you might not even have enough fabric in the sleeve
Oh, wow.
to attach it properly.
So it's like a dance between the two?
Yeah.
You have to do both.
You have to adjust both the armhole and the sleeve
Okay.
at the same time.
Got it.
Luckily, Ellie has a video tutorial on armholes
Great.
that breaks down exactly how to do it.
Love that.
Okay, so speaking of sleeves,
Yeah.
let's talk about those little markings on the pattern pieces,
Okay.
the sleeve points.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I'll admit, I used to think those were just like random dots,
I did too.
but it turns out they're pretty important.
Oh, they are.
They indicate where the sleeve aligns with the shoulder seam
Interesting.
and the armhole,
Yeah.
and getting them right is crucial for
Okay.
a good fit.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of tutorials just like
They do,
breeze over those.
or they have them in the wrong place.
All right.
And then you're like, why does my sleeve look
What
so
is
weird?
it?
Another common mistake with sleeves is designing them to be the same width
Oh, really?
at the front and back.
Okay.
And this creates a poorly shaped sleeve no matter how perfect
Yeah.
your armhole is.
So the back of the sleeve needs to be wider than the front.
Yeah, because our bodies aren't
Mhm.
perfectly symmetrical,
Makes sense.
and the sleeve needs to accommodate that.
Yeah.
Luckily, Ellie's armhole tutorial
Oh, God.
also covers how to adjust the sleeve for a proper fit.
Awesome.
Are you ready for the dreaded drop shoulder?
Ooh, yeah.
I've had so many dropped shoulder disasters.
Same.
They're such a popular style,
Yeah.
but I've seen so many that end up looking boxy and unflattering.
Totally.
So the key here is using like a basic block or a foundation pattern
Okay.
versus a style-specific pattern for the drop shoulder.
Interesting.
And a lot of amateur tutorials skip this step,
Right.
and then you end up with all these fit issues,
Okay, like what kind of fit issues?
like garments that are way too revealing under the arm,
Oh, no.
side seams that pull,
Ugh.
sleeve hems that are uncomfortably tight.
Yikes.
So for a dropped shoulder, the sleeve hem length
Okay.
should be different at the front and the back.
Interesting.
And Ellie has a video tutorial on creating draped shoulder garments.
Cool.
That is a game changer.
I'll have to check that out.
Okay, so we've covered armholes, sleeves, drop shoulders.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about a classic,
Okay.
the A-line dress.
Love a good A-line dress.
It's a go-to for so many people,
Yeah.
especially those who are maybe looking to balance a larger bust.
Yeah.
But a poorly executed A-line pattern
Uh-oh.
can actually exaggerate the bust.
Oh, no.
And this is often due to like
Yeah.
incorrect distribution of fullness in the skirt.
So like where you put the extra fabric?
Yeah. And it creates all these like awkward bumps and bulges.
Yeah, like you don't want that.
No, you want it to like flow smoothly.
Right.
So Ellie breaks down 3 common A-line mistakes.
Okay.
She calls them falls.
Interesting.
So fall A is adding fullness only at the side seam,
Okay.
which leads to uneven fabric drape.
Yeah.
Then there's fall B,
Mm-hmm.
which is unequal front and back hem extensions,
Okay.
and that results in a skewed side seam.
Oh, wow. So the side seam is like,
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
all messed up.
got it.
And then there's fall C,
Okay.
which is like extreme fullness added only at the bust point.
Oh, no.
It's like the pattern is trying to make...
It's like emphasizing the bust.
Yes, in the worst way
Oh,
possible.
in a bad way.
And it's such a stark contrast
yeah.
to like a professionally drafted A-line dress.
Right. It should just flow
It should just flow.
beautifully.
Yeah. And this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay. It's almost like these mistakes come from not really understanding how the fabric
Yeah.
moves and how to get the shape you want.
Yeah, it's like they're just adding fullness, but
Yeah.
not thinking about where it's going
Exactly.
and how it's going to hang.
And Ellie has some great tutorials.
It does. On drafting A-line dresses.
Yeah, both with and without bust darts.
Right.
Which is great because some people
Yeah.
love darts.
Yeah.
Some people hate them.
Yeah.
So she shows you how to do it both ways.
Yeah.
And she really breaks down like the geometry
Yeah.
of how to get that smooth drape.
I love that she gets into like the technical stuff
Yeah.
too, because that's
Yeah.
where I feel like
Me too.
a lot of tutorials just kind of
They do.
skip over that.
Yeah, they're like, just do this and then it'll look great.
Yeah.
And you're like, but why?
And then it doesn't.
And then it doesn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of getting the geometry right,
Yeah.
Ellie also has a tutorial on like even hem extensions
Oh,
for skirts and dresses,
I need that.
which is something I've personally struggled with.
Yeah, I have too.
It's like, why is one side longer than the other?
Right.
It's so frustrating.
So,
Okay. Are you ready to move on to pants?
yes.
Yeah.
Pants pitfalls.
Pants can be so tricky.
Oh my gosh, they are the worst, especially getting the fit right.
Yes. Especially in like the crotch area.
Yeah, all the sensitive areas.
It's so hard.
So this is actually the 5th
Okay.
of Ellie's Big 5 deficits.
Got it.
It's focused on trouser patterns,
Okay.
and specifically like high-waisted styles.
Okay. So like Marlene pants or jeans.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she's found that a lot of amateur tutorials make some like
I know.
critical mistakes
Right.
that lead to fit issues and just like construction headaches.
What kind of mistakes?
So one thing is like overly sharp angles at the side seam
Oh, yeah.
of wide leg pants.
I can see how that would be a problem.
Yeah, because it creates like this weird
Yeah.
bunching
Right.
and it disrupts the line of the leg.
Exactly. And like wide leg pants are supposed to have that
They're supposed to flow.
flowy drape.
Yeah.
And if you have those sharp angles,
It just looks,
it's going to get all messed up.
yeah, it looks awkward and ill-fitting.
Exactly.
So you want like a gentle curve
Right. A nice smooth curve.
at the side seam
Yeah.
to let the fabric fall gracefully.
It's about balance.
It is,
It's
yeah.
between structure and flow.
Yeah, even in wide leg pants,
Totally.
which you think would be all about the flow,
Yeah, you would think.
but you need
You need both.
a little bit of both.
And Ellie has a bunch of resources on this.
She does.
Like she has videos
yeah.
and a podcast episode specifically on pants pattern making.
Yep.
So we'll definitely link to those
Yeah.
because those are super helpful.
Now you mentioned that this sharp angle thing
Yeah.
is specifically a problem with high-waisted styles.
Right.
Why is that?
Well, it's because the higher waistline changes how the fabric hangs from the hips.
Okay.
So those sharp angles become more obvious
You got it.
and more of a problem.
It's all about like how the pattern pieces
Mhm.
interact with our bodies.
Right, with the curves of our bodies.
Yeah, and that brings us to another common trouser trouble,
Okay.
which is the myth of a constant measurement
Oh.
between the crotch and the hip line. I've seen this in so many tutorials.
Me too.
They're like, just use this measurement.
Yeah, for all sizes.
For all sizes.
And it's like, no.
And it's like,
that's not how bodies work.
that's not how bodies work.
Yeah.
The length of the crotch curve needs to be calculated based on the individual's hip circumference.
It's not one size fits all.
It's not one size fits all.
At all.
But I can see how a beginner would fall into that trap.
Totally.
So what other trouser troubles does Ellie address?
Another big one is what she calls scooping out the crotch curve to gain length.
I think I know what you mean.
It's like you just...
Yeah, you just cut out more fabric.
Carve out more fabric.
To make the pants longer.
Yeah.
But why is that a problem?
Because it can really mess up the fit and the comfort.
Yeah, you don't want bunching.
Yeah, you don't want bunching or tightness.
Or tightness in the wrong place.
In the wrong places, exactly.
So what's the proper way to adjust crotch length?
The key is to subtly deepen the curves of both the front and back pattern pieces.
So it's still about like...
Yeah, it's still about creating those curves.
But
doing it in a way that doesn't sacrifice the fit.
It's all about these like subtle adjustments.
It is. It's so nuanced.
It really is. It's like every element of pattern making is connected.
Yeah, you can't just change one thing without it affecting everything else.
You change one thing and then it's like a domino effect.
Exactly like a domino effect.
Gotta do the whole garment.
What else is there to watch out for with pants patterns?
Symmetry.
Oh, yeah.
It might seem obvious, but a lot of tutorials just completely overlook it.
Yeah.
So we're talking about making sure that the left and right legs of the pattern are mirror images of each other.
Yes.
Even below the knee.
Yeah. And that's important.
Why is that so important?
Because it makes sure that the pants drape properly.
Oh, okay.
And that they create the leg shape you're going for.
Whether it's like straight leg or boot cut.
Right, exactly.
Or wide leg.
If they're not symmetrical, you could end up with one leg like twisting or hanging weird to the other one.
I've definitely had that happen.
Yeah, me too. It's so annoying.
Okay, last but not least, the case of the crease.
Ooh, what's that?
So we're talking about the crease or the fold line in the front pattern piece for trousers.
Got it.
Now, when you're creating the back pattern piece, the placement of this crease needs to be adjusted.
Adjusted? How?
It's a little more complicated than just like moving it over.
Yeah.
But you're on the right track.
Okay.
The common mistake is not shifting the crease line at all.
Right, so they just keep it in the same place.
Yeah, and then that can lead to fit issues.
Oh, especially around like the back side?
Yeah. So again, it's about understanding the differences between the front and the back of the garment.
Right, they're not the same.
They're not the same.
You got to adjust things.
And how those differences affect the fit.
Yeah.
And Ellie points out that it can be really hard to find accurate information on this in DIY tutorials.
Because a lot of those tutorials are using like unrealistic models with like perfect proportions.
It's like they're designing for mannequins, not for real people.
Exactly.
But that's why I think Ellie's work is so valuable.
Yeah, totally.
Because she's bringing a dose of reality.
Yeah, she's keeping it real.
And expertise. This world of like DIY fashion.
I love that.
What's resonating with you the most from what we've talked about?
Honestly, I think what's really blowing my mind
Yeah.
is how much thought goes into creating a well-fitting garment.
It's so much more than just following the instructions. It's like you have to understand.
You have to understand the why.
The why behind every design choice and how those choices are going to affect the final result.
Like it's a whole other level.
It is. Yeah, it's like pattern making is its own language.
It is.
And once you start to understand the grammar,
right,
then you can really like unlock the potential of your designs.
It's so true.
And now that we've uncovered all these like common mistakes, it makes you wonder what other subtle design elements are out there that are like secretly affecting our clothes.
Yeah. There's always more to learn.
There is.
It's a journey.
It really is.
And the more you understand the fundamentals, the more creative you can be.
So true. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I have to say I'm feeling super inspired.
Me too.
To like take a closer look at my patterns and really understand those design choices.
Totally.
It's like a whole new world has opened up.
It is.
And remember, even seasoned designers are always learning.
We're all still learning.
It's an ongoing process.
It's a journey.
So embrace the process, enjoy the journey.
Yes.
And with Ellie's resources, you'll be well on your way to creating beautiful, well-fitting garments.
Absolutely.
So to all our listeners out there, we encourage you to check out Ellie's videos. her podcast.
All the links are in the show notes.
All the links are in the show notes.
Yeah.
And remember, every stitch
Yes.
is a step closer.
To the wardrobe of your dreams.
To the wardrobe of your dreams.
Happy sewing, everyone.